Atlanta is a beautiful city, from the greater metro area suburbs to the hustle and bustle of living in the middle of it all. Stick around, I'm going to tell you about the 5 best things and the 5 worst things about living in Atlanta. I'm TJ. Thanks for stopping by the Living in Atlanta channel, where we talk about all things moving to or living in Atlanta. And we are a team of realtors, so if you need help buying or selling in the area, definitely reach out. We'd be happy to help. Do you want the good news or the bad news first? Let's go with the good news first. All right, one of the best things about Atlanta, number 1, is the weather. Most of the year is pretty pleasant temperature. It rarely gets too cold. Not only is there no snow to shovel, but it's a long growing season and perfect to make that garden, or just to get outdoors and enjoy the lush vegetation that surrounds the area. Another great thing about Atlanta is the green space. Atlanta's really committed to their outdoor parks, and there's really an awesome project there called the Beltline, it's actually in progress, but it takes old railroad and turns them into urban trails, paved urban trails. And they're going to expand that, and I believe they're expected to have it with the connecting trails to be about 33 miles long. You can take a stroll, ride a bike, or get a good workout in. And not only are there plenty of parks inside the city, you have a short drive within a day of Atlanta where there's beautiful state parks. Georgia has some of the most beautiful state parks in the nation. And number 3 is the low cost of living. Atlanta is the 9th largest city in the US, and you can get way more house here than you can in most of those other cities. And number 4, career opportunities. I mentioned in other videos that Atlanta is home to over a dozen Fortune 500 companies, and there's just a plethora of industries around here. There's a huge employer at the airport, their healthcare industry, and the film and television industry is booming and growing at a rapid pace. And number 5, one of the best things about living in Atlanta is the sports and entertainment. It has mostly all the major sports, with the exception of hockey that left a few years ago. But we don't have ice down here anyway, so it makes sense. Not only baseball, football, and basketball, but you get soccer, NASCAR, tennis, the PGA Golf Tour, and let's not forget that Atlanta is pretty much the mecca for college football. Restaurants here are a foodie's paradise, and the food scene here in Atlanta just keeps getting better and better and better. The nightlife and culture entertainment, Atlanta's rich music scene and nightlife have you rubbing elbows with some of the biggest names in the industry. But if the clubs aren't your thing, Atlanta still has plenty for you to do between the aquarium, theaters, museums. We can't forget the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. All right, and now the dirty side, the cons about living in Atlanta. So even though it was a pro, I have to mention the weather, because there's a couple months in the summertime that it is sticky, humid, and your AC is going to be running full blast. But that's really the only complaint about the weather, and it still be shoveling snow. And of course, the obvious is the traffic. We're not a pedestrian city here in Atlanta. There's 2 major highways that meet and come into one major highway in the busiest part of the busiest city in Georgia. Who made that design? I don't know, but I'd like to have a conversation with that guy. The third downside to Atlanta is 2 weeks in April. Pollen season is no joke. There's a haze, a greenish yellow haze that takes over the city, and your car turns yellow, your house turns yellow, your driveway turns yellow, the roads turn yellow. But it only lasts for about 2 weeks. If you have some allergies, just don't open your window at that time. Another one of the downsides to Atlanta is that the public transportation isn't as great or as large as other major cities in the US. So if you're familiar with New York or a city like Chicago, they really have a bustling subway system, light rail system, commuter rails. Atlanta doesn't really have a lot of that. We do have a subway system, MARTA, which is a great way to get around. It's just not as big. It doesn't go as many places as you would find in other cities. And then the 5th thing, traffic. It deserves a mention again because it truly is brutal. And during rush hour, or if it rains, people don't use their blinkers sometimes. It gets to be kind of a mess. But don't let that scare you away from Atlanta. It really is truly a beautiful city. And as long as you pick a house or pick a place to live close to your job, have a shorter commute, then you don't have to worry about traffic at all. Be sure to watch my next video about living in or moving to Atlanta. And as always, if you need a deeper dive on any of the information I've shared with you today or any of my other videos, feel free to reach out, and you can even book a Zoom call right from my channel. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.